Hi there, and a huge welcome to the Transcend and Succeed show. I'm Dawn Livingstone, I'm your host today, and today I have the pleasure of talking with Kerry Tuschhoff, the founder and director of Hypnobabies. She has been a childbirth educator, doula, speaker, and hypnotherapist for over 30 years, and she is here to talk to us about how hypnosis during pregnancy, childbirth, and postpartum can be beneficial for both mother and baby, and with childbirth management can facilitate a shorter and more comfortable birth. So take a look at this.
As you journey through your pregnancy, imagine what it will be like to prepare for your precious baby's birth confidently, looking forward to it with happy anticipation. Hypnobabies Hypnobirthing helps you enjoy this amazing time and give birth in more comfort and joy, because you and your baby deserve it.
Kerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here and being able to help people learn all about how to have an easier pregnancy and birth and postpartum.
And I'm just super excited to help you to get that message out today. So could you start and share with us your experience and what gave you the inspiration to create Hypnobabies?
Certainly. So Hypnobabies is a childbirth education program that uses hypnobirthing. We don't hypnotize babies. And how it came about was that I had two very painful births. I was just minding my own business, living my own life many years ago. And a friend had a baby. She had it unmedicated with another natural childbirth program. And she said it was very painful, but she did it. And at that point in history, I did not really know that people could still did an unmedicated birth. I thought maybe that was a hippie thing from the 60s or something. I didn't know. So I became fascinated with that. And I got bitten by the birth bug when I started reading stories of natural births. And all births are natural, but what I'm talking about is unmedicated births, more holistic births. And so I became an instructor for that natural childbirth method and was also a doula, which is a labor assistant, going to my students' births when they wanted me to help them through it. And their births were very painful, but I thought, this is doable. You know, when it's my time, it's going to be just fine. And I thought I knew everything that there was to know about having a baby. And then I got pregnant and went into labor with my first child, and it was just horrible. The baby was turned around. Her head was down, but facing the wrong way. So the back of her head were pretty much grating on the nerves in my spine all the way down and out. It's called back labor. And it felt like being stabbed over and over and over again to me. And I was just really, really suffering. I was traumatized by the pain. And after 26 hours of it at a freestanding birth center, I was rolled across the street and had an epidural. at the hospital. And I was never so happy in the world to see anyone as I was that anesthesiologist with a big long needle coming at my back. And after that, I was able to relax and cry, which I did for the next 6 hours. And then they pushed and pulled my baby out. And I was traumatized. I ended up with PTSD from it, from the pain itself, and also the loss of what I felt like was my birthright, an unmedicated birth. Like, how could that not be? However, I will say that I came out of it with a very healthy understanding and respect for people who choose epidurals, because that is definitely the way to go for some people. And it was for me in that instance. And then 4 years almost to the day, I gave birth to my son. And instead of it being a total of 36 hours like the first one, it was only 7. However, he was also turned around and the pain was just as great. And I was screaming my head off. And after one particularly gnarly contraction, my sister had been holding my hands out front here. And I looked up into her face and she was sobbing. And she said, "It should never have to be this hard." And Dawn, it was like a light bulb went on over my head right there in the middle of labor. And I thought, you are so right. And whether or not I have another child, and I didn't, I'm going to find a way that people who want a unmedicated, more holistic birthing can do this without all the suffering. And it took me a few years. I used hypnosis for my own recovery to help with the trauma. And then I found hypnotherapy and I became a hypnotherapist. And then I took classes on pain management with hypnosis. And that's how I found out that there was something called hypnoanesthesia. And that is something that in rare cases, people who have allergies to medical anesthetics, they work with a hypnotist or a hypnotherapist ahead of time for about 2 months. And they basically retrain their subconscious mind way down deep in there to feel the normal feelings of a surgery, which would be pressure and maybe a tingling, but without the pain associated with the scalpel. And so they're able to get through the surgery and recover much better just by using hypnosis and no medical anesthetics. And that is what I was looking for. So I learned all about it, and I created Hypnobabies, which is a complete childbirth education program. And we can talk about why a little later. But the hypnoanesthesia is what makes it so that our students are able to have a much, much, much more comfortable birthing without an epidural, without injectable drugs, and so many of our students do it. And not everybody, of course, is going to have a pain-free birth, although we do have people who do experience that. But what our students do have is several gifts. One is the gift of, as soon as they start Hypnobabies during their pregnancy at about 28, 30 weeks pregnant, the gift of being calm and relaxed about the rest of their pregnancy and about their upcoming birthing, and then the birthing itself, having a much easier, much more comfortable birthing where they're mobile and able to do whatever they want to do in whatever position they want to do it in and still be in hypnosis and more comfortable. So
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. Now, your website states that you are an expert on helping people gain the confidence they need to advocate for themselves. Can you
oh my,
explain a little bit more about what you mean by that?
yes, ma'am.
Mm.
So Hypnobabies is a complete childbirth education course. And the reason is because everybody who's pregnant needs to understand a lot of different things in order to be able to make educated decisions during their pregnancy and their birthing. So we teach nutrition, exercise, staying healthy and low risk, all the stages of birthing, all the positions of birthing, so many comfort positions, and we go on even into postpartum and new baby care. And one of the most important things that people need to understand is that when you're going into the hospital to have a baby, which 95% of our students do, there are things called interventions that will be presented to you. And this is the way that childbirth is managed now. You get in there and everybody gets an IV, and then everybody gets an epidural, and then everybody gets Pitocin to speed things up because the epidural slowed it down, and all these things. So what we do is, first of all, we teach people the benefits and the risks and the alternatives of all of these interventions that could be presented to you, and we call them choices. Okay, so they learn all about the choices, and the most important thing about the word choices is that all of them are yours. The most important thing people can know as a patient of any kind is that you are 100% in charge. Every single decision, in this case, in pregnancy, birthing, and postpartum, and for your baby's care, belongs to you. And you can make educated decisions about those things by learning ahead of time the things we teach them about the benefits, risks, and alternatives, and then going and researching more about whatever it is that you want to know that could be a choice for you in your birthing. And whether you're going into the hospital to have heart surgery, a mole removed, or a baby, you are a patient and you are therefore in charge, and you get to say to them when they suggest things to you in the hospital, you get to say, well, okay, tell me about the risks of this treatment. Tell me about the benefits. Tell me about the alternatives, and tell me what happens if we do nothing. Thank you for those answers. And now we're going to take some time and we will let you know what our decision is. So they need to be their own health advocate and researcher and choice maker, or someone else is going to make it for them. And that might not turn out to be the best thing for them and their family.
Mhm. Yeah, and I remember when I had my first, I was not given any options at all. I was just told what was going to happen and what they were going to do, and I had no say in the matter whatsoever at all. So I totally understand that you want people to be educated so that they know that they do have different choices, because if they're not given those choices, they can't make an informed decision, can they?
They can't, and they need to,
Mhm.
because many people still think that they don't have the choice, but they do have the choice. I read books that are written by doctors so that I can understand from a doctor's point of view what's going on out there. And the very first book I read was called Complications. And in it, many things were revealed about what happens in the medical field, and with doctors in particular, and why they do what they do. And they are taught certain things in order to get the patient directed to what you want them to do. And so ways to speak, the ways to present things, ways to indicate that there isn't a choice even when there is, because now there is. Now you have to sign off if, there's something that they want you to do that you're saying, yes, it's okay, or not. And you can sign a form too that says this was suggested and the patient declined. And so, in the book, it stated that at one point in history, we had a very paternalistic medical model where the doctor would come in and pat the woman on the head and say, just leave it to us. We've got everything covered. We'll tell you what to do and when to do it, and we'll take care of everything. And then at some point in history, people decided that was not what they wanted. And so it changed over to more of a model where we are explaining to people a lot more about certain things. This is what's going to happen, and here are the benefits, the risks, and the alternatives of that thing. And then the patient gets to ask questions about it, and then they give us their decision. Well, when they changed over to it, they found that over 60% of people who were surveyed still did exactly what the doctor presented in the first place because they didn't want to take the responsibility on themselves for the outcome of those decisions. And so, what people need to understand is there is a huge amount of information out there for you to research whatever it is your choices are. What kind of anesthetics do you want them to use if they are taking a mole off your face? In heart surgery, there are certainly a lot of different things that you need to know before you go in there to make sure that everything is done right. And on that note, there are still a lot of medical mistakes. Now, I'm not ragging on the medical community. Please don't write me emails. What I'm saying is that people just need to take the responsibility for their own health on themselves, and that includes our pregnant and birthing people.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with all of that. Yeah, start to take a bit more responsibility, but understand that you do have the empowerment to make decisions over your own healthcare. Because I think most of us, and I know I certainly was, that to give your power over to a doctor to do everything that he thinks is right for you, that was all I thought was right. I thought that was my only option. So it's fantastic now that you're getting information out there for the mothers to be to actually take responsibility for what it is that they actually want. So I think that's fantastic.
Yes, and I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, carry on.
What I was just going to say is that it is for pregnancy as well. So people think, well, the doctor said I'm going to go in and have such and such of a test next time I go in, and they don't have to, no matter what that test is. It's just because something is always done doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. So go research that, and if you don't want it, then you need to say no, thank you. And one of the things that is presented to pregnant women at the end of their pregnancy at 39 weeks, the doctor wants to go in and do an internal exam, check their cervix out and see if it's dilated. So number one, that will tell you nothing. It will tell you absolutely nothing. It doesn't tell you when the baby's going to come, when the labor will start, or how long anything will be. It could be one day, it could be 2 weeks from now, and nothing you're going to find from an internal exam at 39 weeks is going to tell you any different. It's never going to give you any information about what's going to happen. And secondly, it could actually break your waters. It could strip your membranes in there and break your waters. Oftentimes they will strip the membranes while they're in there poking around, or break the water inadvertently. And if they break the water, you're having that baby. And oftentimes, because your body is not ready, the cervix is not ripe, the hormones from the baby are not forthcoming yet. And boom, they're doing an induction, which often ends up in an unnecessary cesarean section.
Mm-hmm.
So we can say, if we so choose, no, thank you, and we can keep our panties on. So no one sticks anything up in there and it can't be done. And people have the right to say those things. They have the right to decline anything at any time.
And knowing that these kind of things are coming up, can sometimes cause anxiety and
Yeah.
the mother to be. So how does hypnosis address that, or any other fears that the mother may have?
Oh my goodness, yes. From the time that our students start with Hypnobabies, they start getting messages that the pregnancy is going along well, that it's going along better and better every day. Even if there are complications, that can still be true. And that it's a perfectly normal thing. So is childbirth. So along with all the positive messages are the deep, embedded, somnambulistic hypnosis messages for creating hypnoanesthesia. And so one of the particular messages that we have is a fear clearing session. So that person is allowed to listen to that and just let go of fears, concerns, and control issues. Maybe before they do it, they write everything down. That these are the things I'm afraid of, and this is what would happen if those things came to be. Now, it's logical that we would be concerned about certain things, especially if we had a cesarean last time or a difficult time of anything, or we are scared because our sister just told us some awful birth story of hers. It's okay to be concerned, and we can't sit and dwell on it. We have to let those fears go, or they could cause constriction in the body. They can actually cause us to not go into labor because muscles constrict with tension, which comes from fear. So we allow them, or they allow themselves, to release those fears, those concerns, and those control issues. There are people who want their baby to be born on a certain day because it's so-and-so's birthday or not their birthday, and they get all wound up about it. The baby has to come by a certain time. Let it go, because the best thing in the world is to let your baby cook for as long as possible. And then the birthing starts when it should start, and the baby is born as it should be born, instead of on anyone's schedule, which does change the course of your birthing.
There you go. And I think I said this to you before. Where were you when I was having my kids? Because I could have done with all this information. You know, absolutely. I had absolutely no clue back then what on earth was going on. But now is a good time. We're just going to take a quick commercial break. But stick with us, because after the break, Kerry is going to tell us her favourite quote and why it's her most favourite. So we'll be right back.
Hydrogen introduces the most powerful health enhancement device in the world, the Lord's Hydrofix Premium Edition. Studies have shown therapeutic potential for cancer, diabetes, digestive and heart issues, and essentially every organ and system in the body. Visit holyhydrogen.com to see the latest technology that elevates your immune system and fights inflammation. This isn't medical advice, but if you have any health concerns, I strongly recommend that you learn more about hydrogen. Visit holyhydrogen.com to learn more about this groundbreaking gold standard hydrogen generator that, for a reasonable price, creates therapeutic quality hydrogen gas for inhalation and hydrogen-infused water for consumption. Remember, holyhydrogen.com.
Your host for Mindful Mondays, every Monday at 1 p.m. Central Time, where you can embark on a transformative journey of self-care and ultimate happiness. Tune in to the Voyage to Vitality channel on the Achieve TV network. Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross. Be there, be mindful, and join us on E360 TV.
And welcome back. And we are here with Kerry Tuschhoff, who is going to talk to us about all things Hypnobabies. But firstly, she has a favourite quote. So, Kerry, do you want to give us that favourite quote and why you like it so much, relating it to your business?
Yes. So it's not my quote, but it is from somebody else. And it is, babies are such a wonderful way to start people. And the reason I love it so much is because it is a major motivator for me every single day, that more babies will be able to come into the world gently, without drugs in their system, which can affect their breathing and their sucking ability for breastfeeding, and also without violence, so not pushed and pulled out, and also without hearing their mothers scream and cry in pain. And when they come out in a more gentle way, as our babies do, they are so calm and so peaceful and just have a really gentle entrance into our world.
Isn't it wonderful? I know, and newborn baby, I mean, so precious. It's such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I loved just being handed my children at the time. And I can't say anymore, I'm going to get all emotional, but they
I
are
know.
so super precious. Yeah, and I think it's wonderful that people are now starting to understand that the more calm the mother, the more calm the baby. Yeah.
Right.
So,
And,
okay.
I also want to say, and when a woman stays very calm during pregnancy with things like hypnobabies, then of course they don't produce those catecholamines, those stress hormones that can cause their own body to tense up, and the baby is not bathed with those as well. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'm quite sure you have to address these often, but about common misconceptions or concerns that women have or people have about hypnosis during pregnancy and delivery. Anyway, how do you handle those?
Well, first of all, I would like to say what hypnosis is and is not, because that is a major misconception. Most people out there think that hypnosis is what they have seen on a stage or TV or some show where the person is plucked from the audience and then somebody does something to them, supposedly, and now they're quacking like a duck or singing like Elvis. And that is not hypnosis. That is a lot of fun and it's entertainment, but it is not hypnosis. Real therapeutic hypnosis is a very focused form of concentration. And we are all in states of hypnosis all the time, every single day. So anytime we're falling asleep or waking up or daydreaming or reading or watching a screen of any kind, and that could be a little screen or a bigger screen or a bigger screen or a bigger screen or a bigger screen, we are in hypnosis. And when we're driving and we are thinking very much about that thing that's going to happen when we get wherever we're going, and then all of a sudden we're at a stoplight and we go, wait a minute, what happened to that last 5 minutes? You
How
were
did
in
I get here?
So we're all in light states of hypnosis many times a day. So there's no not going into hypnosis. People who say, well, I can't be hypnotized. Yes, everyone can be hypnotized over the age of 2 and without a mental illness and who is not on drugs or alcohol. It's will they be? And usually there's a little bit of fear left over somewhere in there about what hypnosis is and is not. It is never out of your control. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You are always 100% in control. You can enter hypnosis, stay in hypnosis, accept the suggestions, which are mental directives in the hypnosis session, and come back up and emerge from hypnosis at will. You can even stay in hypnosis, even if somebody is counting you back up and out and you feel too good to do that. You just want to lay there and be relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
So real therapeutic hypnosis is not what people think it is. That's a major misconception. And so what I want to explain is that we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is what you are all watching this with right now and listening to and, figuring out on a conscious level, what does she mean by that? And that might have happened to me, that sort of thing. Then the subconscious is down here. And it is a vault of everything that you've ever seen, done, thought, experienced at all in a big set of files in a vault. And the conscious mind, in between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, is something called the critical faculty, which decides what is going to go into the subconscious completely. It's a filter. So some things automatically get down in there, and other things don't, because of the critical faculty. So what we want to do is make it take a nap. And the way that we do make it take a nap so that we can get from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind is through hypnosis. So we relax the body first, and then we relax the mind. So when we're teaching people in the beginning of Hypnobabies, we teach them how to relax their body from the top of their head all the way down to their toes, because relaxing isn't laying on the couch and going click, click, click with the remote. It is a deep releasing of tension throughout the body all the way down. And then once that has happened, then the mind can relax. And we do that by counting backwards. Sometimes people walking downstairs, whatever it is that takes them further and further away from the conscious mind and down into the subconscious mind. And then when we get there to the subconscious mind, it's like a 5-year-old child. And whatever you tell it, it doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy at that level. So we're going to put in something good. If our goal in hypnosis is to release weight, then those are the hypnotic suggestions. Those are the directives and messages we will give the subconscious mind, updating its software, updating its software, updating its software every day until it's in there that we are releasing weight and we are no longer dedicated to emotional eating, that sort of thing. That's what we do in our tracks. We have a set just for releasing weight. And if it's childbirth hypnosis, then the messages are all about what a wonderful thing hypnosis is going to be for them during childbirth, how natural and normal the birthing is going to be, how they can create hypnoanesthesia, spread it throughout their body exactly where they want to, with certain post-hypnotic cues. These are called anchors. So that all of that gets in there, it gets updated, we keep updating it, and then it's in there. Then when they get into their birthing, which is what we call labor, they use those post-hypnotic cues, and some of them are physical, like a hand on the shoulder or forehead. Some of them are words, word cues, word anchors, and they can think them, hear them, or say them, or listen to them on a hypnosis track, because we got lots of those for the birthing day if they so choose. And boom, the hypnotic cues are activated. And that hypnoanesthesia is there. They can also walk and talk and move around and still stay deeply in hypnosis, do whatever they need to do, talk to people, go to the bathroom, eat, drink, and still be deeply in hypnosis. Sounds weird, but it's true, and much more comfortable, even though they've been moving around. And that is an amazing feature of Hypnobabies, because we don't want people to just have to lay in bed or sit in a chair and don't do anything in order to maintain their hypnosis or their hypnotic depth or their hypnoanesthesia. So we have what's called eyes open childbirth hypnosis, so that they can use that hypnosis in any position, in any way, at any time. And we also give the birth partners their own hypnosis track during pregnancy, which helps them to stay very calm and relaxed about the pregnancy and about the upcoming birthing, and gives them their own anchor, so that when they're in there in the birthing with the birthing person, this wonderful, amazing hypnomom, they can be much more calm and relaxed and confident about this whole procedure of, giving birth, that it's perfectly normal and their part in it is vital too. Even if the mom says, "Don't touch me, don't talk to me, stand over there," they've got it. They know what they're supposed to do. We train them fully in hypnosis, so that if the mother changes her mind and says, wait, come put your hand on my shoulder, boom, they've got it all. They're perfectly calm. They know everything. They're very well trained, I guess, and coordinated in doing that. So yeah, it's an amazing process for people who learn, practice, and use it as directed.
And I think, quite a lot of time, especially, when I was having my kids, the father wasn't really included, because this is something that just the mothers go through. But it makes perfect sense. The father is so close, and it makes sense for them to, take the same, subconscious changes that the mother is taking as well, and being on the same level. So I think that's fabulous that there's the partners tracks as well. I think that's great.
Yeah, and we have also a track because we want our wonderful birthing people to be able to use hypnosis no matter what happens. So there's a track that most of our students never even hear, and it's called the Change of Plans track. And they listen to it if there is a change of plans during their birthing that obviously they didn't, put on their birth plan, and they can still roll with it and still be very, very calm, knowing that that procedure or that treatment or that choice of theirs is new. We didn't plan on it, but we're going to go with it, so that our blood pressure stays very, low as it should stay, very healthy. The temperature, the veins stay nice and plump so that if we need an IV, they don't go flat, and they can still work with hypnosis and be very, very calm and relaxed no matter what happens if there is a change in the birthing plan. So they can also use hypnosis for afterbirth, for those after pains and for breastfeeding. And we even have tracks that help them while they're still pregnant to eliminate nausea and eliminate the fear of childbirth and eliminate pregnancy insomnia and a fear of needles. And hypnosis can be used for so many things. And again, our students learn and practice Hypnobabies in a relaxed state, but when they're birthing, they can be in any position and doing anything that they want. And that is invaluable.
And I was on your website earlier looking at all your different programs. You've got a ton of them, which is incredible. And you even have a podcast page where you link all the podcasts that you've been in. And there's so many of them. So I managed to catch a couple. And I would say to anyone who is either expecting or wanting to have a family in the near future, go and listen to some of these podcasts. They're incredibly enlightening.
Thank you. Speaking of wanting to get pregnant, we have an entire hypnofertility program. So there are hypnosis tracks for the mom to be to listen to, one for each week of her cycle. So she's specifically working emotionally and physically with those weeks of pregnancy of her cycle, and an affirmations track to go with it. So from the inside out with the hypnosis and from the outside in with the affirmations, syncing up and keeping you positive every week of your cycle. And on top of that, the birth partner, or the future dad, I should say, gets his own track, his own hypnosis track and his own affirmations track to keep him in sync with the process of getting, nurturing a baby, nurturing a pregnancy, getting pregnant, having the baby, keeping him calm and relaxed throughout the whole thing. So it is wonderful to use hypnosis for fertility as well. We have a laid back breastfeeding course, which is just amazing, by Nancy Moorbacher. And we have a course that's even preparing for your hospital stay and recovery, which is very basic, but it is all full of videos about that, about what it's going to look like and feel like when you're in the hospital, who these people are and what's going on. And we've got a lot of tracks and sets, like there's even a cesarean set. So if somebody is having a cesarean, they can still use hypnosis to stay calm and relaxed through their pregnancy about the cesarean, and then calm, relaxed, and much more comfortable during the procedure and afterwards during recovery. So we try to help everybody with hypnosis, and it's just a joy.
Sure. I know the power of your mind is, your mindset is very, very important. So what key messages do you share with, the people that you work with or the people that you speak to in your speaking engagements?
The most important thing for our students and everybody out there in life is to focus on what you want. So in our case of Hypnobabies, we teach our students that one of the key things is focusing on the kind of birthing that you want all the time. So instead of sitting around and thinking, I don't want a cesarean, I don't want a cesarean, I don't want a cesarean, or I don't want an episiotomy, I really don't want, I don't want. First of all, the mind doesn't process negatives in the same way as it processes positives. It doesn't like them.
Yes.
So it jumps right over the word don't
Don't.
and gloms onto the subject of what you just said, which is have a cesarean, have a cesarean, have a cesarean. And so if you focus on that, that is what your subconscious mind, it gets down in there, and the subconscious mind goes, oh, that's what she wants. And it will do everything in its power to create more thoughts and more beliefs and more decisions and more behavior towards the cesarean. So what we want them to do and what they should do and what all pregnant people should do is to focus on what you want and see yourself, imagine yourself having already gotten it. So if it's having a really much more comfortable birthing than the last time, or avoiding the kind of birthing your sister just told you about, that's what you're going to think about. The beautiful birth, what it looks like, what it feels like, how amazing it's going to be to hold the baby. Here you are, all done, and it went beautifully. And then the subconscious mind goes, oh,
Okay.
that's what she wants. And it starts trying to produce that for you by creating more thoughts, then more beliefs, then more decisions, and then more behavior that will create what you want. And this is true in life too.
Yeah.
If you are going to do anything, if your goal is anything, pick something, pick a goal. If your goal is to buy a certain car, say it's a Toyota, and you want it for specific reasons and you want it to be red, how much time are you going to spend looking up and going to dealerships and going online and everything to buy a Tesla? You're not going to spend any time at all, zero zip, because that's not going to get you towards your red Toyota goal at all. And that's what people need to do with their goals, is focus on those goals, not what they don't have, not what they don't want, and then see themselves having it. I see myself driving my red Toyota and it's just glorious and the windows are open and it's a beautiful day and so forth and so on, so that you can treat your subconscious mind to being able to get you that goal much, much easier. So that's what I would tell people. That's like a key message.
And I think what you've just said there totally resonates with me. That's what I talk about a lot as well. You know, we're conditioned to think about the things that we don't want, because that's where our energy flows. Whatever we focus on, that's where our energy goes to. And if we start focusing on the things that we want rather than the things we don't want, because we create, whether it's a negative or a positive. So we just need to do that quick shift in our thoughts and start to visualize things going well rather than worrying about what's going to happen if they go wrong. Yeah.
Exactly. And things are happening in our brain when we think positively versus when we think negatively. I love to learn about neurology. And one of the basic things I learned about neurology is that they discovered through studies that when you think or say or hear positive words, your brain creates certain neural connections that are very positive and affect you and your brain in a positive way, and the people that you may be talking to. And the same is true for the opposite. So if even you just sat and said the word no, 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 and you were inside an fMRI machine, it would show the damage being done inside your brain. And also they have studied that it affects the people that you're talking to. So it affects their brain as well. So we know that positive words, positive thoughts, positive belief systems really, really help in life in general.
Yeah, because these the other things, the negative things are all very, very low frequency, which, starts to, make you feel heavier, and anything that's positive is a lot lighter frequency. I like my words frequencies, but yeah, definitely we need to start in being aware of our thoughts in the words that we're saying, and catch ourselves when they're negative and flip them around and immediately make them
Exactly.
positive. Because the more we practice it, yeah, because repetition goes right into the subconscious mind. The more you say it, it goes straight in, and then it becomes a habit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. And if we taught our children this, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation. If we had been taught as children, if all of us had been brought up to really understand the mind body connection, and mind body and spirit, because the dynamics of how we live is mind body and spirit. So if we were teaching our children to really respect that, teaching them to meditate, teaching them how the power of their mind and their power of their spirit, and putting everything together. If you have a negative thought, that's okay. Acknowledge it, mindfulness, and don't be judgmental,
Yes.
but then flip it around and say, but what if this? And make that thing positive. Your life is going to be so much better. So I say, let's bring our kids up in a very positive way. We have an affirmations track at Hypnobabies. It's affirmations for kids. It's free to anybody, anywhere, all the time. And the kids love it. They sit there and repeat those affirmations every day for 16 minutes, and it starts their day off thinking about themselves in a very positive way and their effect on the
Positive way.
universe, their effect on other people. What I do affects other people. I am smart. I am kind. I love my body. I can do things, and so forth and so on, so that even tiny little people, even 3-year-olds, will start to get that about themselves.
I
And
was
that
just
can
going to
be a
say that
start.
earlier you can get them to listen to things like that, because up to the age 7, the subconscious mind is wide open, and it takes in everything that child sees or hears, or anything that child learns. So the more positive things we can put in as early on as possible is much more beneficial.
And I tell parents that, you know, when we're talking about kids, that they're in a state of hypnosis, if you will, up to about the age of 6 to 8. And that's why when you tell them something, they go, oh, like they don't even doubt it. It's just like, that's the way it is. So to speak to children in a way that is what you want them to do rather than what you don't want them to do. And this is true for anybody out there, not just children. But instead of saying, don't run in the street, you'll be killed by a car, we say, stay on the sidewalk, it's safer here with mommy. For several reasons. One is because the kid is, oh, okay, they're much more likely to do what you say you want them to do rather than a don't thing. We've just jumped over the word don't, and what they're hearing is go in the street. And also the mind's language is imagery. So the first image was, I'm going to be hit by a car. And the second image is safer on the sidewalk with mommy. Piece of cake. And that's what we should do with everything. For instance, don't forget your keys. Really should be, remember your keys. They're on the hanger.
Yep.
The image is immediately the keys on the hanger and remembering them instead of jumping over the word don't and hearing forget the keys.
Yep, start talking in the positive rather than the negative. Yeah, I hear. You're totally convinced me. I try and do that every single day. And sometimes we slip back, that's fine, It's just, being able to pick it up right away, bringing forward that awareness, and flipping it over from a negative to a positive. So can you give us some of the most profound transformations or successes that you've witnessed with the families that you've worked with?
Well, there have been so many. Oh my gosh! I guess starting with we have a track that is called Baby Stay In. And what it is it is a hypnosis track to help babies not come prematurely. So to work with the mother's body to keep the baby in until it's safe for the baby to be born. And the first time that somebody used it, she had 4 premature babies, and she started using it, and that 5th one stayed in all the way to be full term, and she used Hypnobabies and had a beautiful birthing. So those kinds of things let me know that we really are on the right track. And the very first one that let me know that as far as childbirth goes was a young woman who was in my Hypnobabies class, and she was a first-time mom, and she asked me to be her doula, which is a labor assistant, and I was happy to do it. So on the day of her baby's birth, her water broke in the morning, and she called me as her doula, and I said, "What are you going to do?" Because doulas don't tell you what to do. They ask you, "How can I help?" And she said, "Well, I'm gonna, stay home, bake some cookies for the nurses, and listen to my hypnosis tracks, my birthing tracks." And I went, "Okay, well, call me later." So at 5:00, they called me, and that is exactly what she had done all day long. They said, "We're going to the hospital." And I said, "Well, I'll meet you there." And they said, "Let's call you from the hospital." So 2 hours later at 7:00, they called me from the hospital, and the husband said, "She's at 9 centimeters." And I said, "Well, how's she doing? I'm not there. And does she need me?" And he said to her, "Do you want Kerry to come?" And she said, "Yeah, she can come." So I show up and I walk in the room, and sitting over to my right, just inside the room in a cushy chair, is Carlene. And she's got pillows under her arms and her head back on a pillow against the wall. And she's just like this. And
Very
so
relaxed.
just having a birthing wave, which is what we call contractions. And I'm like, cool. So when the contraction was done, when the wave was done, I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she's like, "I'm doing great." And I look up and I look over onto her bed, her labor bed, and her doctor, who I knew, was sitting on the bed with his jaw hanging open. And he turns to the nurse in the room, who had been absolutely silent, and he said to her, "How far along did you say she was?" And she said, "She's 9 centimeters, probably a little more now." And he said to me, "That hypno thing really works. And I want you to come to my office and do an in-service all about this so that we can all learn about it." And it was the moment that I just knew that thousands and thousands and thousands of people were going to benefit from this. Because if a doctor could see, how amazing it was, and this mother was experiencing it, and the birth partner was calm as a cucumber, and the nurse was really calm and not trying to change anything, okay, we're there. And since then I've been at many, many births. I've read thousands of birth stories, and it's fantastic. And I give really all the credit to the people who step out of the box and choose this instead of doing it the way that everybody else does it. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Don't get me wrong. But they did step out of the box, and they did look for a different way to give their baby an unmedicated, gentle birthing. And then they learned, practiced, and used Hypnobabies. I mean, they get all the credit. And I am just in awe of all of our students every single day. They are so special to me. And that's why I do what I do.
Do what you do, absolutely. Well, I know you wanted to make an offer to the viewers today, so do you want to tell us just quickly about that?
Yes, if you scan the QR code, you can go to our Hypnobabies store and save 25% on anything you want in there. We have courses. We have a hard copy Hypnobabies self-study course, and we have 2 online courses that are being used all over the world of Hypnobabies, Hypnobirthing. We also have the breastfeeding class. We have course. We have the fertility program. We have lots of other tracks and sets that you can get at the same time and save 25% on. And we hope you will.
Yep, I would recommend you have a look around there because there is so many different tracks available. I didn't realise there was quite so much. So fantastic. Kerry, I want to say I've had the most amazing conversation. I've learned so much from you, and thank you so much for coming on to give us that wonderful education. And I know it's going to be beneficial to everybody that's watching, whether they're watching live or whether they're watching on demand. So thank you to you once again, and also thank you to our viewers, and we will see you next week. Take care, Kerry. Thank you.
Thank you.